And good evening, everyone. You're tuned in to EmoNews every moment online. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines. Dominica appoints new CARICOM youth ambassadors for 2025-2027 term. Mapao Entertainment Center spreads Christmas cheer to local children. Community gathers in Kalinago territory to demand protection of the bush environment. Dominica Calypso eliminations, finalists for 2026 national competition announced. And Sydney shooting motivated by ISIS ideology, PM says. These stories and more coming up next. Stay with us.
Blast Gaming presents its biggest job whatever. Blast Mystery Progressive. I'm so excited. I can't hide it. The new Blast Jackpot rising. And I like it. It going up and up and up and up and up. Blast up and up and up and up and up and up.
Play selected games to win in the Blast Mystery Progressive. Pick until you match 3 gems and win one of the 5 cash jackpots. Or you can blast up with the Mystery Progressive jackpot.
It going up and up and up and up and up. Blast up and up and up. Blast Gaming.
And welcome back, everyone. I'm your presenter, Rick Francis, and this is a news broadcast for the 16th of December, 2025. In local news this evening, the Ministry of Culture, Youth, Sports and Community Development, through its Youth Development Division, has successfully concluded the national selection process for Dominica's CARICOM Youth Ambassadors, CYAs, for the 2025-2027 term. The selection process was designed to ensure that Dominica is represented by capable, visionary, and committed young leaders who embody the values and ideals of the Caribbean community, CARICOM, and who can effectively advance regional youth development priorities at both the national and regional levels. The selected candidates are Miss Abigail B. N. Christmas, CARICOM Youth Ambassador; Mr. Eamon Clifford Gibbons, CARICOM Youth Ambassador; Mr. Jonathan Edison Lewis Jones, alternate CARICOM Youth Ambassador; and Miss Angel S. Joseph, alternate CARICOM Youth Ambassador. The appointments are effective for the period 1st August 2025 to 31st July 2027. 10 candidates were shortlisted and invited to participate in the interview phase, which was conducted in September 2025 by a panel appointed by the ministry. The interviews assess candidates' readiness for the CYA role through situational and behavioral questions, regional awareness, public speaking ability, problem solving, and diplomacy skills, and understanding of CARICOM's youth development agenda. Appointment letters were issued by the Permanent Secretary on 14th November 2025. Each appointee will receive structured capacity building and technical support coordinated by the CARICOM Secretariat to enable them to effectively execute their responsibilities, advocate for youth interests, and contribute meaningfully to regional policy dialogue and youth development initiatives. The ministry congratulates the successful candidates and reaffirms its commitment to empowering young people as partners in national and regional development. The UNESCO Youth for Peace initiative is advancing youth integration and intercultural dialogue in Dominica through school-based engagements led by Youth for Peace leader Natasha Eloy Labad. Recent dialogue sessions at Massac Primary School and Girardel Primary School provided students with safe spaces to share their experiences and perspectives. Children highlighted concerns about being treated differently from adults and feeling that their ideas are sometimes undervalued, while also emphasizing their active roles within their families and communities. These engagements form part of the National Project Dialogue in Motion, Empowering Dominican Youth for Peace and Shared Prosperity, which runs through April 2026. The initiative uses UNESCO methodologies such as story circles and listening labs to empower youth as peace ambassadors and contributors to social cohesion. By centering youth voices and dialogue, the UNESCO Youth for Peace initiative continues to support inclusive youth-led peace building across Dominica. The Dominica Calypso Association has announced the results for its Calypso eliminations held on December 13, 2025, ahead of the 2026 National Calypso competition. The finalists advancing are Haxi, Jerd, Mighty D, Royette, Sandy, Mystery, Jama B, Liberator, Reds, Mighty Omi, Kalfa P, and Ainoa, with Mika, Lulu, and Nini named as reserves. Public Relations Officer Peter Letar shared insights on the competition.
What a night it was, December 13th, 2025. The Calypso elimination. Big night, big show, big band, great venue, and a nice tag team of MCs. Not forgetting our sponsors. I must say the Calypsonians came out and they did their best. All of them competed. I mean, it's only unfortunate only 12 could go through. We feel the judges did a very good job. I mean, we may have our personal opinions, but the judges' decision is final. So results, the final 12 from this year's elimination. Haxi, Jude, Mighty D, Royette, Sandy, Mystery, Jama B, Liberator, Reds, Mighty Omi, Kalfa P, Ainoa. And on the reserves, we have reserve number 1, Mika, 2, Lulu, and 3, Nini. Congratulations to every one of y'all. Y'all performed well and your hard work paid off. Now it's time to get prepared for January 17th, the Calypso quarterfinals. The Dominica Calypso Association would like to thank the sponsors: Flow Dominica, Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, agents for Coca-Cola, Heineken Beer, Twapito Water, Big Edge Financial Express, Belfast Estate Dominica, The Factory, and the Insurance Company of the West Indies. To all of you, Calypso is saying thanks.
Meanwhile, EmoNews caught up with Sandy, who expressed her excitement about making a return this year.
I love Calypso, and I think, I believe that I have the material now, so I decided I'm coming back.
So tell us about the elimination. How was the elimination show last evening?
It was good. It was good. The crowd was, I think it could be better with the crowd, but it was good. The people that came out there, they came to support, and they did get a good show.
So tell us about that song.
Swan Ellen.
Swan Ellen, yes.
Remember, growing up, little girls at school fight for stuff and things like that. And I think it's carnival time, so they want to make a costume. So I soon saw the cover, the bottle cup, and she wanted it, and Ellen wanted it, and they just start fighting over it.
So how would you rate your performance last night?
I would give myself an 8.5, 9, because I mean it's not really the whole band, so it's like coming and trying to, with my recording I know exactly on my instruments and things like that, but coming for the eliminations it was like kind of like you just hear 3 people playing and you want to feel it, so it's like I had to put everything in it to do it.
All right, and I know Carnival season is coming up. What would you like to say to Dominicans in terms of coming home for the Carnival?
Well, I would like to tell them, as much as they come for independence, I would like to see a flock of them come for Carnival, because to support the Carnival, especially Calypso. And Calypso is not going nowhere, and I think we need to push Calypso, and we need to support Calypso as much as we can. And as a Calypsonian myself, that's what I want to do. I want to take part. I want to, patronize the Calypso. I want to make sure that Calypso, Calypso is bigger than all of us. And I love Calypso, and we have to just work towards making Calypso be what it used to be before. Come with nice, jumping music, things that people can relate to and things like that, and just have fun. That's what I want.
Are you playing mass this year? I know a couple years ago I saw you on the streets of Roseau.
Oh yes, sir, we have something bigger coming for Juve.
It's a surprise.
Bigger coming, yes.
We want to wish you all the best, and thank you for talking to EmoNews.
Thank you so much, Emo, for having me.
An evening of education and celebration was held at the Barana Ote in the Kainago territory, bringing citizens together to discuss the protection of Dominica's land, rivers, and people. The event focused on findings from the Dubois area. Chief Annette Sanford shared brief remarks, pledging to stand for her people and emphasizing the need to protect the environment. She thanked everyone for their support.
My being part of this event and this discussion is clearly to be a voice for those who are afraid to speak out for themselves, as I'd always promised myself that I will do. And I will continue to speak. It doesn't matter what the opposition will look like or seem like or how hard it is. I will continue to stand and speak. If I have to do it all by myself, I will do that. But I'm happy that there are other Indigenous people here this evening to be part of this conversation, to ask relevant questions and to listen to the facts about the event surrounding the wash. And I want the rest of Dominica to know that protecting our environment is very, very important. To many, the rivers may not be important. Maybe you have access to a jacuzzi, a big pool, but many of our people don't have that privilege. We enjoy our natural resources. And I would like to see that continue. And I will continue to ensure that we as Indigenous people continue to protect our environment, protect our lands, and speak powerfully all the time, never to be afraid of anyone or anything. And I want to thank all those across Dominica who have been giving us the support for the past months. Thank you so much for standing in solidarity with us, for recognizing our voices and for giving us the opportunity to represent and really allow others to hear us.
Citizens at the meeting also voiced concerns about ongoing activities in the wash.
I have done some research and found that we actually can file a formal complaint to the International Aviation, or the body that regulates the formation and the development construction of international airports. So it's an international civil aviation organization, and we can file a complaint with them because one of the requirements when you are building an aerodrome is that you have minimal impact to the communities and also to the environment, and also that you must do environmental impact studies and you must community engagement, none of which has been done either for the site at Wesley and especially not for the site at the wash.
I'm an aviation security officer at Douglas Charles, and I want to make my voice heard because I'm also I'm from Concord, that's where I live, and I'm greatly affected by what is happening. And I'm not ashamed to say it because I've said it in the week at work. Some days I only get to wash my work uniform, and that's about it. For months I'm not able to wash because the Wasco is not on and the river is a mess. And my children basically lives in the river. Mr. knows that is where we live, you know, VO and everything. And this morning, Matt is here. I think it's this afternoon, the press briefing was on. He asked a question, the Prime Minister responded. I listened to all of it. And I'm thinking that he may feel that he's coming, and this is not political. That's what I want them to understand at first. This is people's life that we are dealing with. This is the children's future. And if all of us are silent because we are afraid of victimization, then what do we represent in this country?
So thank you guys so much for the presentation. I myself, I'm a project manager, I work in construction. I've had to deal with a lot of remediation systems and those kind of things when I'm doing work. And a lot of the time it's, oh, but this is a more expensive option. How do we find a cheaper option? I know you talked about one of your friends and one of the guys you guys talked to in international media, and they said, oh, this is not being done the correct way. I know that one option is nothing changes. We work exactly as is going on right now, which is what the government wants. The other option is stop everything completely. I think there has to be somewhere in the middle where, as you said, doing it the correct way. Because we cannot just say every single time anything that's being done has to be stopped completely. Is there a middle ground that we're looking at where the mine continues? One, it does not impede in the nature forest, because I think that's a big thing we have to make sure that it's not getting encroached. And number two, is there a way that the river is not dirty? I know we talked about culverts, but I know that there are ways of mitigating water runoff on roads, rivers. And is that something that we're looking at and presenting an actual functional way of doing?
PhD candidate Carla Estrada spoke on the environmental impacts of extraction in the area.
So we have short-term impacts versus long-term impacts. Our short-term impacts that we have already started seeing start with the noise and the dust from blasting, drilling, and heavy machinery. We also have water contamination from the sediment or chemical spills in nearby streams. And finally, we also have habitat disturbances. So animals are moving away due to noise and activity. Our longer term impacts that can slowly develop over months, years, decades, or even centuries are often more difficult to reverse, which is one of the conversations we were having leading up to this presentation. One of them being soil loss. So this erosion, removing the topsoil needed for plant growth, or salinization, or the salt buildup in soil from poor drainage or exposed minerals. Landscape alteration, and finally species extinction, loss of plants or animals that cannot adapt. One thing I would like to highlight from this, you can go to the next slide, is that because these animals are also moving away from this area or losing their habitats, the human health impacts are many that we've already known today, such as Ebola, COVID, SARS. That all comes from animals losing their habitats and encroaching where people are inhabiting. So the closer we have these animals to us, the higher the transmission of diseases. I won't go into that because that's not my expertise, but it is an impact on human health. So what is erosion for those who don't know? The process where soil and rock are worn away by wind, water, or other natural forces, and they're often made worse by extraction activities.
Several organizations, including the DHTA, Dominica Freedom Party, United Workers' Party, and other interest groups have called for a halt to excavation at the Boash. The National Bank of Dominica Limited has been named the 2025 ECCU Distinguished Bank of the Year. The bank was shortlisted in all 5 award categories and received top honors for technological innovation and customer service. In celebration, let's hear from our very own Emmeline Anselm at Times Square, New York.
This is Emmeline Anselm of EmoNews reporting live from Times Square, New York. We are here to celebrate with the National Bank of Dominica. NASDAQ, a valued partner of National Bank of Dominica Limited, is elated to congratulate NBD on its recognition as the 2025 ECCU Distinguished Bank of the Year. This year, NBD was shortlisted in all 5 categories and was also awarded top accolades of technological innovation and the customer service. Today's feature on the NASDAQ Tower right here in Times Square is a testament to NBD's courage and commitment to always striving for excellence as Dominica's indigenous bank. Remember, NBD is your partner, your bank. EmoNews is elated to share this moment with you.
And finally, in local news this evening, Mapao Entertainment Center recently brought festival joy to the children of Alpha Center and Achievement Learning Center. The youngsters enjoyed a lively party featuring food, drinks, games, dancing, and gifts tailored to each child's wishes, making the celebration truly memorable. And that's all for local news this evening. Stay tuned for regional news coming up next.
We're at the different phases in life. We move at a different pace. All we need is to be supported. Cause when the baby's coming, business needs revamping, the new job's starting, and you need an outfit. Let momentum hook you up. Momentum will hook you up. The wedding's planning, rent due dates coming. Momentum is your support financing. Let momentum hook you up. Momentum will hook you up.
And now for regional news this evening. Students from primary and secondary schools across Grenada recently showcased their creativity and innovation at the National Science Fair 2025. The event, hosted by the Ministry of Education with support from the German government, the German Development Corporation, GIZ, and G-Cruise, featuring projects ranging from smart irrigation systems and sargassum seaweed solutions to innovate building designs. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell visited the exhibits, interacted with the students, and praised both teachers and supporters for nurturing young talent. The National Science Fair highlighted the ingenuity, problem-solving skills, and future potential of Grenada's young scientists. The Bridgetown Collective, an initiative led by the United States Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, has wrapped up its first in-person meeting in Bridgetown, bringing together partners from the United States, West Africa, and the Caribbean to tackle shared criminal threats. Over a 5-day period, delegates strengthened collaboration in key areas including maritime security, digital forensics, and intelligence sharing. The meeting also featured practical, hands-on sessions with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, Interpol, and the Regional Security System, and also CARICOM impacts. Organizers say the outcomes represent an important step towards stronger partnerships and more coordinated transatlantic law enforcement efforts. Through the Denton Humanitarian Assistance Program, the United States has partnered with the Good News Project to provide essential supplies to caregivers and elderly residents in St. Lucia. The assistance was delivered using available cargo space aboard a U.S. Air Force C-5 aircraft, transforming military airlift capacity into direct support for communities in need. Officials say the initiative will help strengthen local care networks while improving the well-being of some of St. Lucia's most vulnerable citizens. The mission also underscores the strong partnership between St. Lucia and the United States, contributing to a more resilient Caribbean and reinforcing long-standing ties between the two nations. And that's all for regional news this evening. Stay tuned for international news coming up next. And now for international news. Ford Motor Company says it expects to take a $19.5 billion charge, largely linked to losses in its electric vehicle business, marking one of the biggest EV setbacks in U.S. auto industry history. Facing weak consumer demand and rising costs, the automaker is scaling back its all-electric ambitions and shifting focus to hybrid and extended range vehicles that combine electric power with gasoline engines. Ford has lost about $13 billion on its EV operations since 2023. The company will discontinue all-electric F-150 Lightning and cancel plans for other electric trucks and vans, redirecting investment toward more profitable models. CEO Jim Farley says the move reflects market realities, with many buyers favoring affordable, practical options over fully electric vehicles. Despite the write-down, Ford raised its earnings forecast for the year and says hybrids and EVs will still make up about half of its global vehicle sales by 2030, signaling a more cautious and flexible approach to the future of transportation. The United States has collected more than $200 billion in the new tariffs this year, following duties imposed by President Donald Trump since the start of 2025, according to the Customs and Border Protection. The tariffs, introduced through executive orders without congressional approval, include so-called reciprocal tariffs on imports from many countries, as well as additional duties on goods from Canada, China, and Mexico linked to fentanyl concerns. The announcement comes as the U.S. Supreme Court considers whether the new tariffs are legal. A lower court has already ruled that the president lacked authority to impose them without Congress, raising the possibility of refunds if the High Court agrees. Tariff collections dipped slightly in November as shipments slowed and some duties were reduced. Meanwhile, several major companies, including Costco, are suing the administration, seeking refunds and an end to the tariff collections. And finally, in international news, Australia's Prime Minister says the gunman responsible for Sunday's mass shooting at a Jewish celebration in Sydney was motivated by Islamic State ideology. Authorities continue their investigation into the attack as the nation mourns the victims.
This is a targeted attack on Jewish Australians on the first day of Hanukkah, which should be a day of joy, a celebration of faith. An act of evil anti-Semitism, terrorism that has struck the heart of our nation. An attack on Jewish Australians is an attack on every Australian, and every Australian tonight will be, like me, devastated on this attack on our way of life. There is no place for this hate, violence and terrorism in our nation. Let me be clear, we will eradicate it. Amidst this vile act of violence and hate will emerge a moment of national unity, where Australians across the board will embrace their fellow Australians of Jewish faith at this dark moment for our nation. Our police and security agencies are working to determine anyone associated with this outrage. Our agencies will provide you with factual updates as quickly as possible as they continue to emerge.
And with that story, that wraps up international news this evening. Stay tuned for the sports segment coming up next. And now for the sports segment. Excitement is building in the DFA Boys Under-15 League as the finalists are set. We United FC booked their spot in the final with a thrilling 1-0 victory over Portsmouth Bombers FC. thanks to a standout performance from Joshua Alexander, who took home Dominica Olympic Committee Player of the Match honors. In the other semi-final, Point Michel FC powered past Southeast FC 5-2, with Kalik Prevost earning top honors for his dynamic play. Fans can look forward to an intense showdown as these two teams clash for the championship. And big congratulations to Dominica's Under-15 team, crowned champions of the Winlot Inc. Windward's Under-15 Super 50 tournament in Grenada. The young Dominicans delivered an outstanding performance, finishing the tournament unbeaten with just one match ending in no result. Special recognition goes to 7 players selected to the Windward's Under-15 team: Derwin Lewis, Nian Davis, Alex Armstrong, Dejan Benjamin, Dylan Joseph, Joshawn Joseph, and Dylan John. Individual honors were also secured, with Derwin Lewis finishing as the tournament's leading run scorer, and Dejan Benjamin earning the award for most dismissals by a wicketkeeper. A proud achievement for Dominica and a bright future ahead for these young champions. And that's all for the sports segment this evening. Stay tuned for the weather report from the Dominica Meteorological Service. And this brings us to the end of tonight's news broadcast for the 16th of December 2025. I'm your presenter, Rick Francis, and on behalf of the entire newscast, we say thank you for viewing. This is EmoNightly News, every moment online. Have a good night.